Hey guys, it's Simon. This is Wrestling Unlimited. As it's Monday morning, we're here with the Wrestling Wrap-Up. A handful of news. Actually, today might be two handfuls of news brought to you in one easy-to-watch video. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-ish stories to talk about today. We're going to talk about speculation on MJF's current contract status with All Elite Wrestling, an AEW team getting name changed, John Moxley, his possible status with MLW, WWE announcing the location for Elimination Chamber this morning, and so much more, because as I stated, this is the Wrestling Wrap-Up. I do want to say thank you if you are watching live, twitch.tv/PW Unlimited. I also want to say thank you if you're watching or listening later, whether that's youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited or podcast services all around the globe like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. I also do want to say if you are watching us live, well, you can help us out a couple of different ways. You can either help us out by hitting that donate button down below or by donating Twitch bits in the live chat. Also, remember, you can help us out by subscribing to the channel one of two different ways. You can either subscribe with a tiered subscription, or you can subscribe with Amazon Prime, because remember, if you have Amazon Prime, then you have Prime Gaming. Prime Gaming gives you a lot of cool things like free games, free stuff for games, and they always give you one free subscription to any Twitch channel you want to subscribe to throughout the month, and I'd greatly appreciate it if you did right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Also, remember, if you are watching on YouTube, you can hit that join button to become a channel member. As a channel member, you're directly supporting us and you're helping us out. You're also getting content like news, exclusive news, early access to podcast episodes, early access to non-news videos, and so much more. And finally, head over to the Epic Game Store. Head over to the Epic Game Store and buy something. Whether you're buying a new game, whether you're buying an old game, whether you're claiming one of the free games or getting bucks for Rocket League, Fortnite, Fall Guys, or Rumbleverse, use our code right here, PW Unlimited at checkout, and you will be supporting us at no extra cost. Even if you're claiming the free games, yes, the free games, use code PW Unlimited, that's PWUNLIMITED at checkout, and you will be supporting us. It doesn't cost you anything extra if you're already buying something. You're going over there, getting Uncharted, The Lost Legacy. Go over there and use this code and you're getting Uncharted on the Epic Game Store, whether it's the Epic Game Store, whether it's your PlayStation, your Xbox, or your Nintendo Switch, for all those different games like Fortnite, Rocket League, and so forth. Use our code PW Unlimited for all Epic Store and Epic Games purchases. As far as the news does go, though, we've got 8 stories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stories. A couple of them tie in together. So let's just jump into it, as there's a lot, I guess you could say, speculation regarding one MJF and his current contract. Now, according to Wade Keller of PW Torch, he actually talked about this recently over the weekend, as it was noted, quote, Keller stated that things are pretty good backstage and not as bad as the headlines make it seem in AEW. Keller also talked about MJF. He speculated that MJF secretly signed an extension, but the company is not admitting to that because of what they have planned for him in the next year or so. Now, if you have been keeping up with the MJF stuff, his whole storyline right now is A, I want to be the world champion, and B, well, I could leave in 2024. I could leave and go to WWE when my contract is up in January of 2024. He's been saying that for months now. Air in my mouth, I don't know where that came from, but anyways, it is being speculated that he may have signed some sort of an extension already. Keller also stated that MJF is not someone to stir trouble backstage, and he is someone who could become a locker room leader in the future if he wants that role. Keller also added, quote, I think he got paid big money and got that extension he wanted. And Tony, put whatever issue he had with how MJF handled the situation aside, gave him what he wanted, and went from there. So it is interesting to note that MJF, again, may have signed a new deal with All Elite Wrestling, may be sticking around longer than 2024. Again, the whole thing is that he's going to sign or not sign, and we don't know which is which. Does he stay with AEW? Does he leave and go to WWE? He's been dropping names. He's been saying, I call my buddy Bruce. I'll talk to old Brucey. Brucey will help me and make my decision and this and that. And he said other names as well. But right now, it does look very, very possible that MJF has signed a new deal with All Elite Wrestling. That's a smart move for them. Give this man any money he asks for. If MJF wants $3 million, give him $3 million. If he wants $4 million, give him $4 million. I think Meltzer also mentioned this in last week's Wrestling Observer newsletter, stating that MJF is getting paid more now, and he might have signed something, but we don't know if that's a new deal or if they just agreed to pay him more to come back because of the situation around Double or Nothing. So we'll see where this all does eventually lead to. But I do think if Tony Khan's smart, all roads lead to MJF staying with the company. I think that's the smart move for him. I think it's a smart move for Tony. I think it's a smart move for everybody involved. Stay with AEW. I mean, if MJF wanted, he can go to WWE, test the waters over there for 3 years or so, and if he doesn't like it, go back to AEW. I don't see a situation where Tony would say, I won't take you back, if you know what I mean. I think Tony will take MJF back if say he leaves and wants to come back. Now, if I'm making my, and I've said this already twice now, but if I'm making my final prediction, I say he stays. I say he stays with All Elite Wrestling. Let's move on to story number 2. In keeping with All Elite Wrestling, looks like a couple of wrestlers got name changed. Not their names per se, but their tag team name. As we learned recently, what are their names? The Smart Mark and his people, I don't know exactly what they're called because they've been called a couple of different things with all the different things they've been doing, but they did a thing where they said they have trademarked the word varsity. So that means, well, the Varsity Blondes can no longer use the name varsity. And I'm like, okay, where's this going to lead to? Well, it's leading to basically nothing other than they dropped the word varsity. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Brian Pillman Jr., Griff Garrison, as we see here on the screen. Let's flip this over here. They're just the Blondes. The Blondes against the Workhorsemen tonight on AEW Dark Elevation. It says, check out tonight's brand new episode of AEW Dark Elevation featuring Dark Order's Preston 10 Vance, Serena Deeb, the Workhorsemen versus the Blondes, and much more. So they're not the Varsity Blondes. So what are we supposed to think? They graduated and they don't need to be a varsity anymore? They don't have their cheerleader in Julia Hart, so they can't be college athletes or whatever? I don't know. Now they got freaking black leather jackets in these photos. So what are they supposed to be, badasses now because they're wearing leather jackets? I don't know about this one. Just calling them the Blondes. Well, shit. Does that open the door for anybody to join them that's blonde? Jungle Boy's basically blonde. Kip Sabian bleaches his hair. Is he blonde? Is he a blonde? Like, I don't know. This is a kind of a weird one. But and we'll get to something else here with this in a minute, but it's like, but it's the Blondes. It's Blondes and Bland. Now, we saw when Smart Mark said, oh, I trademarked the word scissor. You guys can't do scissor anymore. What did the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn do? They fought to get that back. They fought. They even said, we'll put our tag titles on the line, as we saw last week on Rampage. But what do these guys do? They just go, okay, we'll just cut the word varsity off, and there you go. We don't care. It don't mean shit to us. Come on. You guys are the Varsity Blondes. You've been the Varsity Blondes for, what, 3 years almost now? And now you're just going to change that? No. I think they need to go back, figure this out, and be like, no, that name is us. We made that popular-ish, I guess you could say. And we want to fight to get the name Varsity back. I don't know if that's ever going to be a thing, but it doesn't look like it with the way they've already changed up their look. Like freaking Brian's got, I already switched off the picture, but Brian's got sunglasses on now, and they're both wearing leather jackets, and Griff's wearing a cross necklace. So it's like, oh, they're supposed to be badasses. The Blondes. What are they? Bikers? We're not full on bikers, but I don't know. Varsity Blondes are now the Blondes in All Elite Wrestling. Speaking of somebody in All Elite Wrestling that's not going to change anytime soon, that's the world champion, Jon Moxley. As story number 3 has Brett Lauderdale, owner of GCW, actually talking about Jon Moxley's future with the company and giving some updates and so forth. As Lauderdale stated the following to the Business of the Business podcast. I've had very little interaction with AEW itself over the years. Booking Moxley, I never spoke to AEW. It always was just Mox. Talking to him and him handling, I guess, whatever needed to be handled with AEW. But I'm sure things are going to change now. I don't think we'll see him as frequently, but I do think we'll see him again. I think if there comes a time where there's somebody he wants to wrestle or a show he wants to be part of, I think he'll be there. I think he'll let me know in much the same way he's let me know over the last whatever it was, 399 days. He'll shoot me a text and say, what do you guys got coming up this month? Or when are you going to be in this place? That's how it would often come together. So I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if I hear from him again in a few months or 6 months or whatever, sometime in the next year. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back again and stops in for another event. While speaking more about his relationship with AEW, he stated, I don't know. I'll be honest. Real honest answer is I don't know what our relationship with AEW is. And I don't mean that in a bad or a good way. Again, I have very little direct interaction with AEW, so I don't know. In terms of there being AEW people being banned or barred from wrestling for GCW, I'm not sure that such an etiquette exists. I would think that if that was a rule, I would think I would know. But again, they don't send me a weekly email or an update, so I'm not sure. Everything's just a case-by-case basis, so we'll see. I think they were very fortunate, and I'm very grateful for all the times that they have been gracious to allow their talent to come work for us, even if it is the end. Even if we're not gonna be seeing their people around anymore, it's been good while it lasted. Now, there have been some rumors going around that when Jon Moxley had his last match for GCW against Nick Gage, and we saw the involvement of Stokely Hathaway and W. Morrissey, that was all Tony Khan. Tony Khan was like, oh yeah, you want Mox and you want to take the title off him? Well, we got to do some sort of a screwy job thing that ties in with stuff we're doing here. And so they had the Firm attack Jon Moxley and cost him the GCW title. But then in the end, AEW never even mentioned that. The whole thing was supposed to be the Firm screwed Moxley to get under his skin, helping out MJF. Well, last we saw MJF in the Firm, he threatened to fire them. Also, it's rumored that day of, Brett Lauderdale didn't know that was going to be the finish, that basically AEW booked the finish of his match-ish. It was like, oh, by the way, these guys need to screw me, Mox telling Lauderdale basically, so that way I can get, quote-unquote, beating the title off of me. So that's kind of shitty in a way. That AEW was like, oh, you want Moxley? Well, we're just going to book your own main event. We're going to say that these guys have to interfere and this and that and da-da-da-da-da. That's just rumor and hearsay from what I've heard over the last couple of weeks. So take that with a grain of salt. But speaking of GCW, there's been a lot of rumors that they could be working in the future with WWE. Now, this also ties in with their possible working relationship going forward with Fight TV, as according to Fightful, looks like Fight TV is starting a subscription service where for one flat fee, you're just going to get a bunch of different pay-per-views. Fightful writes the following. Fightful has learned that multiple prominent independent promotions have reached deals to air on Fight Plus, in an expanded deal. Fight has been a significant platform for promotions of all sizes for several years. We haven't learned whether or not there will be additional price points, packages, or deals. As of right now, most events are available there 30 days after airing. It was largely implied to us that several indies will be joining as a live stream option for one price point of a subscription. We're told that there will be multiple announcements in November. Now, we inquired with GCW about whether or not they were headed there. But we're giving a comical non-answer of WWE is going to Fight Plus. Now, there is a rumor that on November 1st, GCW is going to announce that possibly, now this is the rumor, GCW is going to announce a relationship with WWE and that their content will start airing on Peacock / the WWE network, just like we've seen in the past with other promotions like WXW, Progress, and so forth. The Fightful report continues. For those that have asked, we did ask GCW about rumors of a WWE partnership. We were given a statement that indicated that they'd announced their streaming plans on November 1st. WWE wouldn't deny it, but a rep said that they're in favor of people telling other people, to watch WWE Raw. All signs point to this being, quote, all signs point to this being a, quote, apparently very effective rip. Joey Janela simply said he couldn't say anything when he was asked. But we've been given no indication that the two sides are actually working together. So we'll see where this all does come. There are rumors that WWE and GCW could be working together. We know that Brett Lauderdale and Stephanie McMahon met in some capacity over WrestleMania weekend. There's that infamous photo going around of the two of them together at some party backstage at WrestleMania. So Fight Plus is a thing, but it's unclear if GCW will remain on Fight TV and be on the new Fight Plus service that could be launching as imminently as November. As imminently as next week. November 1st is next Tuesday. And so we'll see exactly where all of this goes. But one place that we do know is not moving or changing or doing anything different with their pay-per-views, that's WWE. And they announced, Elimination Chamber coming to us from Canada in 2023 as WWE sent out the following press release. WWE today announced that the Bell Center in Montreal will host Elimination Chamber on Saturday, February 18th, 2022. Elimination Chamber marks the first premium live event to take place in Montreal in 14 years. They state the following. The success of WWE's recent Canadian live tour, Friday Night SmackDown, will also emanate from the Bell Center on Friday, February 17th, 2023. So basically, you're getting a doubleheader there at the Bell Center. Friday, SmackDown. Saturday, boom, Elimination Chamber, 2-for-1s. Yes, combo tickets will be available for Elimination Chamber on Friday and Friday Night SmackDown as tickets go on sale Friday, November 18th at 10 a.m. Eastern via Ticketmaster. Individual tickets for Elimination Chamber and Friday Night SmackDown will also be made available Friday, December 2nd at 10 a.m. Eastern. They also go on to talk about like the priority pass thing, their VIP experience, so forth, But there we go. Elimination Chamber will not be taking place in Saudi Arabia next year, which this now makes it look like that if there is a spring Saudi show next year, it would have to be in March. Last year, Elimination Chamber took place in Saudi Arabia. We saw Brock Lesnar walk out the WWE champion. As of right now, Elimination Chamber and the February pay-per-view will be in Canada. Nothing's going to change from there. I don't know why I said as of right now. But the pay-per-view will be taking place from Montreal. And we don't know if there's going to be a March show or not. Because WrestleMania is, I want to say, the first weekend of April. WrestleMania 39 is April 1st and 2nd. And so if this pay-per-view, Elimination Chamber, is February 17th, then that would be... No. Hold on. February 19th. WWE's website is wrong. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, it's February 18th. I looked at my calendar wrong. I was looking at... Okay. The 17th is SmackDown. The 18th is Elimination Chamber. Okay. So now if we count how many weeks from then to WrestleMania, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They could throw a show in the middle there to break it all up between then and WrestleMania. I think this year there was a 6-week gap between the last pay-per-view before Mania and Mania. 8-week gap. Maybe they throw one at the 4-week mark. So then we get a show 1, 2, 3, February, March 11th or 18th they can do if they go to Saudi. Then we haven't heard anything of the next Saudi show past November 5th and Crown Jewel. So we'll see if anything does get announced this week, well, in 2 weeks at the Crown Jewel pay-per-view. Again, Elimination Chamber from Montreal, the first pay-per-view from Montreal in 14 years. And moving on to our next story, we talked about how WWE is going to be running Saudi soon. And that night before, well, it's not going to be a SmackDown live. That SmackDown is going to be pre-taped, as they've been doing a lot for their Saudi Arabia stuff. As far as November 5th, they'll be in Saudi. So the November 4th SmackDown is actually going to be pre-taped. This week. The show this week is coming to us from the Enterprise Center in St. Louis, Missouri. So far announced for the show: Undisputed Champion Roman Reigns, SmackDown Women's Champion Ronda Rousey, Braun Strowman, the Tag Team Champions, the Usos, plus Johnny Gargano versus Austin Theory. It's all announced for this weekend show. WWE hasn't officially said it's a double taping, but there's no SmackDown listed for next week, November 4th, so one would assume that this is a double taping as well. As we move on, we've got 2 stories left. This is a quick episode, guys. But this one is all about Bray Wyatt and his positioning on Friday Night SmackDown. So according to Mike Johnson over at PW Insider, he does state that Bray Wyatt, who was a member of the SmackDown roster since returning at Elimination Chamber, has now been internally placed as the #1 babyface on the blue brand. This internally pushes Drew McIntyre from the #1 babyface slot to the #2 slot. And Drew McIntyre had been thought of as the #1 babyface on SmackDown since he was drafted to SmackDown last year. And so now we wait and see exactly what they actually do with Bray. Bray's been doing these mysterious things as Bray does. Don't know exactly what Bray's first match is going to be, what Bray's first storyline is going to be, who this Uncle Howdy is. Is it actually the former Ring of Honor's Vincent, as some may think, or some are actually alluding to? We'll see. We saw him. He's got like a top hat kind of deal on and a mask with the mustache. And so that'll be an interesting one to see where that all goes. Again, everybody is super enamored with the Bray Wyatt stuff, the White Rabbit stuff. And speaking of the White Rabbit stuff, it looks like WWE may want to do more things similar to the White Rabbit, I guess you could say, storyline or rollout. According to Mike Johnson over at PW Insider, they state the company is exceptionally happy with the buzz from all the interactive White Rabbit material leading to Bray Wyatt's return, and will be looking to do similar content in the future with storylines, even for others beyond just Bray Wyatt, if and when the time is right, and if it fits a storyline. There were a number of people who pushed for such content in the past, but it was never authorized. It was never authorized under the old regime. But until Paul Levesque's vision for creative, that has changed. I might actually have to take this phone call. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, I can call it back. Sorry about that. So it does look like the White Rabbit stuff or similar things like the QR code and the whole call this phone number and hear stuff could be used for other people in the future. And we'll see when and if that actually gets implemented. Might have a little bit of some breaking news here, as it looks like a new match may have just been announced for Raw tonight. Let me double check on this one. Let's go here and here. Someone sent me something, but without an actual link, so I'm trying to see if I can confirm that a new match has been announced for tonight's Monday Night Raw. I'm not seeing it on WWE's website nor their Twitter, so give me one other. Let's check one other thing. Let's see. Let's go to WWE. We're doing this on the fly, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't want to say what the match is and then it not actually get announced and be wrong. And someone, yep, found it. WWE's website. I had to click into it. WWE has officially announced that Carl Anderson will be going one-on-one with Finn Balor tonight. Oh, buddy boy. Oh, howdy. Both former very close friends, two original members of the Bullet Club, will be battling as WWE writes the following. Former friends turned rivals will battle tonight as Carl Anderson takes on the Judgment Day's Finn Balor. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows returned to reunite with WWE a few weeks ago. Returned with AJ Styles a few weeks ago, and have since locked horns with the nefarious Judgment Day. Who talks like this? As Balor was attempting to initiate the Phenomenal One into the dark group, Styles refused and brought out the returning OC. Now Anderson will face off with Finn Balor on the road to WWE Crown Jewel as the OC are set to spar with the Judgment Day in a huge six-man tag team match. Which, is that match still even happening? I don't know. According to the president of New Japan, he says all of his champions that are advertised for November 5th are expected to make their defenses. One of them, Carl Anderson. We'll see if that actually happens. But tonight, Carl Anderson will be going one-on-one with Finn Balor. And finally, last little news note, sad story. Last week, we did learn of the passing of Kevin Nash's son, Tristan. Tristan Nash actually passed away on October 20th, as the family confirmed the passing of the 26-year-old. Speaking on the In the Click podcast, Kevin Nash actually, I guess you could say, confirmed what happened and briefly talked about the situation, stating, the Caesar caused cardiac arrest. They got him back and got him in the ambulance, and they tried to save his life. So to the people at Halifax Hospital, doctors and nurses, I thank you. We both decided that we were going to stop drinking. It was a situation where, we both went cold turkey. I don't think either of us felt great because you stop drinking coffee for a day and you get a headache. I think we were both dealing with it. Nash went on to note that he has received hundreds of messages reaching out to him following his son's passing. Nash noted that he recently spoke with Ric Flair, who lost his own son, Reed Flair, back in 2013. So it seems like Tristan Nash had a seizure, which then led to him to having a cardiac arrest. Whether that is a actual heart attack or something else similar is still to be seen. But we do want to send our deepest condolences to the entire Nash family, all their friends, everybody closely connected with them, as this is just tough. I can't ever even fathom one of my kids going before me. I'd rather die before them. I know that's bad to say, but a parent never wants to outlive their child. And again, our deepest condolences do go to Kevin Nash and the entire Nash family. But with that, guys, that's all we got for today's edition of the Wrestling Wrap-Up. Again, tonight is Monday Night Raw. Just breaking news, just announced. Carl Anderson will be taking on Finn Balor. And we also do know in a non-title match. Remember, non-title match, because some of these goddamn websites are announcing this as a woman's title on the line. Bianca Belair versus Bayley. No. Title is not on the line, you goober fucks. It's Bayley versus Bianca Belair, straight up, one-on-one, tonight on Monday Night Raw. And tonight, we'll be back right here talking about that entire show. So with that, guys, I want to say thank you if you're watching us live, twitch.tv/PW Unlimited. And thank you if you're watching or listening later, whether that's youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited or podcast services all around the globe like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. Have a great rest of your Monday. Have a great week. Hopefully I see you guys all tonight. We're out. Have a good one, guys.